Fight Club, welcome back. What is happening? This is episode 188 of the Byte That weekly wrestling podcast, available every single Wednesday. And we have a super-sized edition of the podcast because this is what's on the menu. First up, we're going to get right down to our WrestleMania predictions, talking about every match, the matches taking place on the pre-show, on the main show. We're going to be talking about NXT TakeOver, our hype level for everything that it is going to be happening on WrestleMania weekend. 13 years of friendship. Ryan, Keith, and I do this show for all of you each and every week. And in 13 years, we have never just sat down one-on-one in person to just hang out as friends. And this is going to be happening. And you can actually check out a lot of this live over at facebook.com/ByteThatCast. We're also just around the corner from our second goal at patreon.com/ByteThat. We want to give a huge shout out to our brand new Patreon, and I'm hoping I get your name right. I'm getting some challenging names now. This is Callum Botinic. Please tell me I got the name right. TJ Empire of Phil's Muscle, Joe Windingland, and Oliver Batista. Remember that for just as low as $1 a month, you directly support us, you help us grow each and every week. You get access to a raw, uncut video version of the podcast, as well as an exclusive pre-show, where we talked a little bit about some of the things we may do to Ryan. Don't worry about it, it's nothing illegal. So my name is Juan Velos, I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and if I'm talking about Ryan, that means that he's not here, but fear not, because in the second part of the show, we are going to be going to our Byte That Live podcast we recorded this past Saturday, where all the TakeOver stuff, all travel stuff is going to be discussed. So until then, I got Keith Poshek from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada with me. Keith.
We're holding down the fort. Ryan has left us, but we are here.
Yeah, this is crazy because in about 12 hours' time, all three of us are going to be well, not Orlando, because Ryan's in Miami right now.
In some form of transportation heading towards the ultimate thrill ride.
I think the real big deal is that every week we kick things off talking about weather. In 12 hours, we are all going to have the same weather.
Man,
how's that for you?
I'm afraid, because going through my wardrobe, I realize how unequipped I am for Florida weather and hot weather.
How's the weather in Canada right now?
It's not bad. The snow's going away. There's it's hovering around 0 Celsius.
Oh yeah, not bad. So you're going to go from 0 to I think it's 80 right now in Florida or something like that.
Yeah,
so man,
something like that. You got to
get ready for that.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great indeed.
I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, put on a jacket, go to the airport, and then by the time I land, I'm going to be like, what the hell do I do with this jacket?
That is the worst thing. The worst thing about traveling in different weather is that you got to undress, redress, change wardrobe, and it's not a fun time for anybody. But we are going to be talking about all of the travel stuff on the second part of the show. So we're not going to waste any time right now and get directly
to make.
Predictions. Man, it's going to be happening right now. WrestleMania confirmed to be a 50-hour show, or it's going to be lengthy. I'm not sure we can get through all of it. But here's what's happening. I gotta start with some beef right now, because we are going to get to the kickoff matches. And remember how I've had this campaign for the last 3 weeks? The Cruiserweights, man, don't put them on the pre-show. Give them that big spot. Cruiserweights are on the pre-show, man. I jinxed myself.
I agreed with you up until, I believe it was today, that Austin Aries sent out a tweet saying, yes, we're on, it basically summarizing it saying, yes, we are on the pre-show, but because of that, the pre-show is now must watch.
There you go.
So it kind of sucks they're on the pre-show, but if there's going to be a match, a non-big match that they're going to put on the pre-show to make it so you need to watch it, it was going to be that match. So I totally understand why they're on the pre-show. I just hope they still get the necessary amount of time to have a great match. Because if anything, really, because we're looking at a 200-hour show with WrestleMania, having all of that extra time on the pre-show could actually be a good thing for this match if you think about it, because usually the pre-shows are 2 hours. Right now there's 3 matches confirmed for it, so there is a chance that they're going to get a lot of time for these matches, and I hope they do so with the Cruiserweight match. So I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing.
Yeah, when you look at the pre-show, every match is a big deal. Even the women's match from the SmackDown Live roster was bumped down to the pre-show, which is a subject for controversy because last year, I get we didn't really have a brand split, but Sasha and Charlotte, got that chance to shine. Now, the other one being Becky Lynch, who's on SmackDown, but we are going to be getting to that. So out of the pre-show matches, we got 3 of them. We have the armbar, we have the Cruiserweight title match, and the SmackDown Women's title match. Which one do you want to start out with?
Let's start with the armbar.
Let's do it. So, the armbar, the André the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. It's happening. This has the build-up has been weird because obviously we were supposed to get Shaquille O'Neal versus The Big Show, who got into amazing shape only to go into a Battle Royal. That's got to really suck for the man, like so late in his career. So like this build-up has been
he's still
unique.
in amazing shape, so he gets something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a pretty packed match. You have a lot of tag team members, but then you have guys like Braun Strowman. You have guys like The Big Show, guys like Jinder Mahal that can potentially win
No
this.
hinder.
So without getting into first who's going to win, how do you feel about this? And everybody, keep in mind that when we talk about these matches, this is not your traditional predictions because we're going to physically be there. So we're going to be watching this live, no commentary. We're going to be in the ambience. So whenever we talk about our hype level and our predictions, it's based on that live event atmosphere.
Indeed. And as far as the armbar goes, I'm honestly a little disappointed about it this year because it really hit me on SmackDown this week that the SmackDown tag division isn't going to get their spot on WrestleMania. They are just all in the Battle Royal at this point, and that kind of disappoints me a little bit. But as far as who's going to win the Battle Royal, I am very torn between either The Big Show or Braun Strowman, because The Big Show, there's a good chance that this is his last WrestleMania. And I mean, you're going from Shaquille O'Neal potentially to this. So maybe they give him the win as kind of a consolation just for those 2 points. Like, thank you for all the years. And hey, sorry about the Shaq thing. We'll give you this win. But at the same time, Braun Strowman, that would be a big thing for Braun Strowman. Just another feather in his hat after taking that lashing from Roman Reigns over the last couple of weeks. It could be a really good thing for him. But I honestly hope that one of those two win.
It has to be Braun Strowman. Now, you make a really good argument where Big Show getting himself into great shape. The match with Shaq isn't happening, so maybe you give him this, considering it's nearing the end of his career and he's in the best shape of his life. But at the same time, I think it would even make for a better story that he did all these things just so Braun Strowman can defeat him. So what I'm hoping happens is that most people are going to get eliminated super quickly. You have people like the Shining Stars. Why are they even employed?
Bo Dallas.
That is very true. You have Kurt Hawkins. That really sucks. I'm so sad that Kurt Hawkins is in this spot, in this nothing spot. But I think that everybody's going to be eliminated very quickly. And then I'm hoping we get a treat somewhere in the end. I want to see something from these two big men. We got a tease from their match on Raw, and that match was really good. Like, for what it was, It was an excellent match. And I'm hoping that they almost get a tiny one-on-one match because, as you mentioned, this is the pre-show. You don't maybe have the same obligations as the full show that's going to have performances from people like Flo Rida and Pitbull worldwide. So I'm going to be leaning towards Braun Strowman. But you still weren't completely sold, though. So you're still like between those two guys?
Yeah, it's tough for me. I think I'd like Braun Strowman a little more, but I would be super okay with it if with the Big Show if he ends up winning.
But real talk, if none of these two guys win, Jinder Mahal. Up next, we have the Cruiserweight title match. It's really unfortunate that the match I'm looking forward to the most is going to be in direct sunlight. It's probably going to be scorching hot out there. Those two guys at that pace, they may burn the ring down. So I'm very concerned about their health. It is Neville defending the Cruiserweight Championship against Austin Aries. We've done so much hype. If you haven't listened to the podcast, if this is your first edition, then welcome. I advise you to check out the previous couple of weeks because we've been talking about this a lot. The Cruiserweight division has definitely become a lot better. I think that the crowds are reacting a lot more. And yeah, it's really quick to look at this as why did they bump him down to the pre-show? But as Keith mentioned, maybe this is an opportunity to get more people indoors before the show starts. Because I've seen a couple of WrestleManias where people are still outside before the show starts. So maybe this is their strategy to change that a little bit. How do you feel about this match? And ultimately, who do you think is going to come out on top?
I am so excited for this match. I just hope that they get the platform to do what they do, because I have no doubt in my mind that Neville and Austin Aries are going to have an incredible match, and it'll get me through the door. I want to be there as soon as possible to make sure I do not miss this match. But as far as who's going to win, I'm going to go with Neville on this one. I know it's WrestleMania, it's where the big moments happen, but I just want to see Neville retain the title and hold it forever. Neville should be the champion forever as far as I'm concerned. So I do hope that he beats Austin Aries and they continue their feud. Maybe he wins it in a couple of months realistically, but to have Austin go right to the top when you've been building Neville as this dominant force, it almost doesn't feel right to me. So as much as I love him, I do hope Neville wins.
I see an excellent match happening between these two guys. I don't think anybody really questions that. What I do also see happening is we're going to get an almost 5-star classic with a screwy finish. I think that, number one, Austin Aries beating Neville so quickly, as you mentioned, it just kills the vibe for what's happening with Neville. Plus, keep in mind, this is a pre-show. If this was later in the card, I would say, yeah, man, WrestleMania, that's where all the good guys win the championships. We could be super wrong about this. But I think that if you're going to have Austin Aries
remember that the Intercontinental Championship changed hands a couple of years ago on the pre-show. So it's not out of the question.
But I think for this, where we are with the Cruiserweight division, right? Because it's not just it's not just a 1-on-1 match. It's a 1-on-1 match from this portion of what the main roster is, right? From these people that have their own show. Austin Aries, if anything, he should win the championship in 205 Live. That's where he should win the championship in their own specific show. So I see pulling the tights, something cheap happening with the corner, because otherwise Neville's just going to be looking really good out there. Do something to really bring in that hate at the end. I honestly
hope that doesn't happen, because Neville's whole thing is just how dominant he is, and you lose that if he cheats.
You're dominant unless you find somebody that's not at the A level, but at the A double level. And then you got to cheat to win.
Okay.
So I think that you and I have Neville, but for very different reasons as our picks. Now this one, I'm happy and I'm sad, and I'll get to why. This is the SmackDown Women's Championship. I'm not sure what the format of this match is. It talked a little bit about the entrants that are going to be happening. But basically, there are a lot of women from the SmackDown roster. Maybe we're going to get somebody special in it. But ultimately, we got Naomi back. And that was the long rumor. That's why a lot of people were saying, of course they would make it so anybody can get back into this match. Why am I sad? Naomi's entrance is going to happen in the daytime. How do you do Naomi's entrance in the daytime? Here's the answer. You don't. You got to cover her up. You got to do something, man, because otherwise she's just going to come out there.
Block out the sun for a hot minute.
We can do it. We have the technology, but showcased in this match are Mickie James, Carmella, Natalya, Becky Lynch, Naomi, and of course the champion, Alexa Bliss. Now, other participants are eligible to enter, so this is a really odd match to predict and even talk about. So I'm just going to kick things off by saying that I'm a little bit sad that not only was SmackDown, who's had the arguably much better women's division, they've had that, they get bumped down to the pre-show and they get a nothing match. And I'm not saying nothing match in the sense that I'm not doubting that this is going to be enjoyable, but I would have liked to get that triple threat match vibe, that Charlotte, Hell in a Cell match vibe for the SmackDown women's roster instead of the Raw one where, hey, we have a fatal four-way and it's elimination now and they get it. But look at all these women that have worked their ass off, and you always give the highlights to Raw for so many other things. We can't forget, Raw has the Raw after WrestleMania. SmackDown doesn't have that. SmackDown doesn't have the show after WrestleMania. They have 2 nights after. It's not the same thing, right? The vibe goes down.
I guarantee you I strongly disagree with that.
Really?
it's because it's not a thing yet, but because this is the first year we're going to get that SmackDown after WrestleMania, and it just doesn't exist yet. But by this time next week, we'll be saying, "Holy shit, that SmackDown after WrestleMania." I feel pretty strongly about that.
But we're not going. Well, you're not going to it either, right?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, so we're not going to the SmackDown. We're going to the Raw, so we can talk about the Raw. So please be better than the SmackDown, at least for a week. But I'm going to be going with Naomi, crowd favorite. It would be great to hear that crowd reaction live. And I think she deserves it. You know, she never lost the championship. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Naomi. I think that it's kind of weird that they brought her back already for the, and didn't save it as like a big surprise. So it almost feels weird that they kept that stipulation and are still saying like whoever is available at this time. But I still think it's going to be Naomi because it's been down to the pre-show. I don't think we're going to get some big surprise entrant anymore. It's going to be who's announced for the match. And Naomi probably ends up winning home state. Then they end up just telling the story that they were already building anyway. And it is, and to talk about your point that you mentioned a little earlier there, it is kind of disappointing that the SmackDown women's match got bumped down to the pre-show and the Raw one is still on the main card, because the SmackDown women's division and match are probably, at least I feel, are vastly superior to Raw's.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they get the short end of the stick in this one, and it's a little disappointing.
Really sad stuff, but hopefully we are treated to a very, very fun match with everybody being showcased in there. So up next, let's get to almost all the matches are pretty big. So let's just get to the main pay-per-view, talking first about the Intercontinental Championship match between Baron Corbin and the current champion Dean Ambrose. They weren't on SmackDown this week, which was odd. They had like a little video package hyping up that it was one of the matches for WrestleMania, but I felt that this has been pretty lukewarm.
But they were on Talking Smack, I think. I don't know. I didn't see Talking Smack this week, but I saw an interview vignette on WWE.com that was branded as Talking Smack, so I assume that it was on there. It was this weird little interview where Dean Ambrose like took the remote control and turned Baron Corbin off. It was kind of dumb.
But we didn't get an Extreme Rules match. We've been talking like this whole build up for WrestleMania has
Poor
been
Dean,
the
man.
Redemption to the Brock Lesnar match. But this isn't getting any special stipulation, and neither is Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles. So those are the two matches that we're going to be talking about now. With the Corbin-Ambrose one, considering that we aren't getting that, are you more excited? Are you less excited? Do you think there's potential to have this not just be a match in the card, but something significant that we remember?
I honestly think it's just going to be a okay match at best. Like, if there's a match that will deliver on a 2.5 out of 5 scale, it is going to be this match. It's not going to be disappointing because Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin can go in the ring, but you're not probably going to remember too much about it. And I was hoping for more, but I've kind of accepted it at this point, and I think that Dean Ambrose is going to walk out with the Intercontinental title. Oh, my voice cracked there.
It's okay, man, but I gotta agree with you. And I think that, and not in the predictions, by the way. I gotta agree with you in the sense that it's gonna be a match in the card. We're gonna get a decent match. We know what Dean Ambrose can do. We're gonna get the elbow off the top. We're gonna get a tope suicida. We're gonna get
the rebound clothesline.
Yeah, like I fully expect maybe kick out of an End of Days. Now, don't quote me on that. Oh, you're gonna get wrestling signature maneuvers. I'm still not sure if he's going to be the one to kick out of an End of Days, but if you want to make this match a little bit extra special, considering how weak Dean Ambrose looked last year, have him kick out of the finisher. It's WrestleMania. I think it's justifiable at WrestleMania, but then I'm going to say Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin gets the championship. He needs it. I think Baron Corbin is in a similar spot to where Bray Wyatt was in a point where unless you move up the ranks, unless there's that thing that you now have, instead of talking about you wanting it, there's this wall. And I think that this is where he breaks that wall and becomes Intercontinental Champion. Up next, let's talk about one of the bigger matches, or one of the more curious matches, that is Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles. Now, they completely killed the rumors on SmackDown Live because they specified this is a traditional match where you can be counted out. So this is like John Cena versus The Undertaker at Byte-a-Mania. That could be a possibility here. I'm still not sure how to feel about this. I believe that they're going to turn this around on us. I think they're doing that so we don't expect anything. So when we do get it, it's going to mean a lot more. Shane McMahon's going to climb in. The dude's the commissioner. He can change the match. He can change these things
on the fly. Exactly. And I'm kind of into it. How they pointed out that this is a traditional wrestling match because it makes you change up your expectations a little bit, because when we first thought of this match, our first thought was, okay, what's Shane McMahon jumping off of now? Now we might not see something like that. Maybe we'll get a whole different kind of match out of Shane McMahon, or maybe, like you mentioned, he's the commissioner. He can change it on the fly. And if you, this is a bit of a weird comparison, but if you look at matches like Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker in WrestleMania's past, those are traditional wrestling matches. People still went through tables in those kind of matches with big off the top rope through a table style spot. So it's not exactly out of the question for a match, but I really just want to see how this one turns out. And I don't think that there's a chance that AJ loses this.
That's the sad part. But at the same time, I'm almost
Is it sad though?
I don't think it matters.
This one isn't about the destination. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a hell of a journey.
And I think, and anybody listening, you can maybe quote me on what I said about a month ago. I think what I said then was the outcome doesn't matter. What matters is that AJ Styles is in a WrestleMania match with a WrestleMania caliber opponent. Now, when I say WrestleMania caliber, I'm not talking about Shawn Michaels versus Kurt Angle or Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle. I'm saying WrestleMania caliber in the sense that people know who Shane McMahon is. Not everybody knows who AJ Styles is. I guarantee you there's going to be a large portion of that audience that tuned in the Attitude Era. They watch a couple of shows and they've seen this AJ Styles kid somewhere. He's got a pretty cool thing going on, but they don't know about him. And this is going to be where they do it. So I think it's the great match. It's one of the best matches for AJ because this is not the end for AJ. AJ's still starting out in WWE. Let's not forget about this. So I'm looking forward to this. I think we're going to be surprised, and I'm looking forward to us talking about it after WrestleMania. Now, the next match, we could do an entire podcast about Total Bella's BS. Last week, we had part 1. This week, I was so happy that we got treated part 2. So it's John Cena and Nikki Bella.
And I still feel the same.
Maryse. It's so good.
No, it wasn't.
It was so good, man. I agree to disagree with you, my friend. I love you. And
I love you too.
We don't have Ryan here. It's okay. It's okay, Keith. It's okay to have an opinion that is incorrect.
Yeah, no, sucks for you.
What you think about this match now with at least a promo? Let's remove and maybe even lump up the end of Total Bella's BS because they did a lot of right things where they were insanely ridiculous in there. But at the very end, they turned it off and they got it back to the match. And then we were treated to this kick-ass segment. We got John Cena and The Miz in a promo. We got the usual thing, but I think they elevated it so much well. You know, we're going to get to before the Byte That Live to the Twitter polls because instead of asking about what people thought about Raw or SmackDown, the question was, how's your excitement level? Did these shows make you feel more excited for WrestleMania? This promo right here between them on SmackDown, dude, until Nikki Bella spoke, I will admit that part dumbed it down, you know,
there's the
lowered it a little
asterisk.
bit. Yeah. Nikki, don't talk too much. You're pretty good in the ring, though. But what did you think about this, and how are you feeling about the match itself?
The Total Bella's BS thing, like I mentioned, not a big fan of it. The promo, it was good, but it still kind of felt like, hey, I'm John Cena in the ring doing John Cena things, completely destroying The Miz verbally, just wrecking him as hard as he can. And boy, did he do that. There was no survivors from when John Cena was done with The Miz there. And as far as the match itself goes, I'm honestly indifferent about it. I don't...
You got to pick somebody, though. Who wins, man? Who wins?
Big Match John probably going to win on the big stage.
Really?
And then, yeah, I think this. They're bringing in Al Roker. It's the big celebrity thing.
I love that so much.
I know it's a long-standing inside joke that made me so freaking happy when they brought in Al Roker for WrestleMania. But you talk about like the big stage, the big crowd, almost to go on your AJ Styles point where. You have Al Roker there. You have John Cena winning. It adds to that big mainstream appeal of like, hey, this is John Cena winning at the biggest show, and maybe he does the proposal thing. I don't know. I still think that would be kind of dumb, but hey, we'll see what we get. But I don't think there's a way The Miz wins this.
I do think there's a way, and this is how I would go about it, or this is how I see it happening.
Pay-per-view, if there was any other pay-per-view, I would entertain that, but not at WrestleMania.
You're wrong, sir. And this is why. You're gonna get the happy ending still for the match. What's gonna happen is The Miz has got to win, and I think it's gonna be more so Maryse pinning Nikki Bella. Because Maryse, notice how they specifically focused on her lack of wrestling skills, how she was largely irrelevant, like The Miz was
Which was complete
piggybacking on
BS,
some things.
by the way, when John Cena was like, what did you do the last time you were here? Like, oh, I don't know, you were like a great Divas champion at the time?
No, exactly, but I think that's why they got to do it, because most people watching now probably haven't seen her, and she was part of a really dark, let's be real, a really dark days of the Divas division. So number one, you have her
shown in those times.
Yeah, but you have her beat Nikki Bella, so that way Nikki Bella's all sad, and then John Cena goes, "Hey, Keith, like we're gonna do a little bit of role playing right now.
So
I'm John
Cena.
No, Keith, we're role playing this right now. You're Nikki Bella. You just lost a match. You're sad. Be sad." Hey, Nikki.
Yes, John?
Can you see me?
Where are you?
Well, according to law number 508,
I can't do this anymore.
Damn it. Fanfic Fantasies. We almost got it back, folks. Those that have listened for a long time, we tried. But I think he's going to propose. So that way you get the Miz's victory. You get Maryse some proper exposure where she can showcase some of her wrestling potential, and you get the happy outcome with John Cena and Nikki Bella. You do all of it, and John Cena doesn't win. I think that's how you do it, and people will completely forget about the match.
On multiple levels, I hate that so much, and I don't think it'll happen.
I think it's corny as hell. But dude, you know what the name of the show is? WrestleMania, the ultimate thrill ride. The whole thing is corny. So
yeah.
Go listen to Falling Away From Me. Up next, we have the triple threat ladder match for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Now, I will say, there's a lot of eyeballs.
Ladder match, by the way.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's a lot of eyeballs in this because, slight spoiler, there's a tag team, without going into too much detail because it could be BS, there's a tag team that's been very well recognized for ladder matches that people are saying, hey, this could totally use a tag team that happens to know a little bit about tag team wrestling and ladders.
Less obsolete, one might say.
And people would not delete it from the WWE Network. Although you actually can't, unless you hack it, you really can't do that.
Yeah, like but how would you do that?
I'm not even going to go into the specifics. We have Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, Sheamus and Cesaro, and Big Cass, and the guy that Triple H said he's basically not a good wrestler, but he could talk. Which,
Triple H is right, though. Let's all be real here.
Yes, but dude, can you imagine your boss being interviewed? And it's like, Keith has a lot of good things, but he is like the worst at this in an interview. I think it's just a little weird how he was so blatant. Much respect to Triple H for that, but still, that's a little harsh. But
he knows where the money is, and Enzo probably does too.
Yeah, and hey, he gets the job done. Some people don't love him right now too much, but Enzo does what Enzo does, and some enjoy it. So we have this classic combination. Do you expect Gallows and Anderson to walk out with the gold? Or do you see a scenario where maybe Sheamus and Cesaro do it? Or do we get the Enzo Amore? spot.
So to break this down a bit to 2 points, that thing that you mentioned earlier about that ladder match and the tag team, I don't think that's going to happen at WrestleMania.
Agreed.
Maybe the night after, but not at WrestleMania.
Oh my God. Can you imagine that? If that happens on SmackDown, I am going to be pissed.
I will be furious, but
we digress.
This match is so interesting because not one of these people scream ladder match to me.
Right.
It's the exact opposite.
I mean, Cesaro's had some experience with them, but everybody else...
I wouldn't say like a standout ladder match performance out of him, though.
But I do think you have a nice combination. I will say it's odd because there's no high flyer in this match. Enzo can jump off of stuff, but you wouldn't really call him a high flyer. But you have a lot of big men. Like, this has to be the most... I'm trying to remember another mixed tag team ladder match or like a tag team ladder match. It's not like when Kane single-handedly retained the championships and Hurricane, I think, was out. Most of them... No, I think SmackDown had that odd one with Dave Taylor and Willow Regal. They were a tag team.
Yeah. That's the one where Joey Mercury's face exploded.
It exploded. And that Delete guy was there, I believe, in that match. So
yeah. I don't know. I think the club is going to retain, but I honestly, that's just throwing a dart at a dartboard at this one. I could honestly see any of these teams walking away because you can have the argument with Enzo and Cass. They finally get their big win. They get their tag titles at WrestleMania. They're the fan favorites. This is what WrestleMania is built for. They're basically prime subjects for that. Sheamus and Cesaro, it's the Cinderella story of a tag team. They've been great. Think about half a year ago when we were all poo-pooing them. They've turned it around. They could walk out of WrestleMania with the tag titles, and I think I would be perfectly okay with it. And then you have the club doing the club things. It would feel weird to honestly take the belts off them so soon because you know they're going to be like a centerpiece of the tag division. So maybe they get their big WrestleMania win. It could go any way, and I honestly have a tough time predicting it, so I'm just going to go with the club.
I'm predicting a one-day title reign from Enzo and Cass. I think that people want, basically, hey, you know Zack Ryder?
Work for Zack Ryder.
Yeah. And let's be real. Enzo and Cass are a terrible tag team. Like, their thing is that they are a terrible tag team. This is not like the smarky way of saying it, but Big Cass does all the work, and Enzo can't, he's so weak. He's like Magikarp or something like that. So I think that this is the perfect time to get the championships on them because they're not pinning anybody, only to then defend it the night after, and they lose it because, well, Enzo loses to everything. And you can have it.
Well,
transition.
Enzo might be Magikarp. Cass is like the Red Gyarados, so they still put in some work.
So they're still pretty close in there, but I think that's what's going to happen more so than who wins. I'm just curious about the match, which is good because I think like when you don't know what to expect in a match like this, I think that we may be surprised with guys like Sheamus, guys like Cesaro. I'm going to say Luke Gallows. You know, Luke Gallows, not enough people talk about him from a wrestling standpoint because, well, he does the wrestling thing. He's a really good wrestler, but that's his role, right?
He's a good brother.
He's a good brother indeed.
To digress for a quick second here, that's kind of my outlook on WrestleMania as a whole and why I'm actually excited for the show. For the most part is the outcomes are kind of like, they are what they are, and I think they are still important, but it's more seeing how all these matches play out is what I'm more interested in, like with this ladder match, the Cruiserweight match, the AJ Styles, Shane McMahon match, and some of the other matches we're going to talk about shortly. It's mostly about the journey with this, and I can't wait to see how they all play out.
That, my friend, was a really good observation there, and I agree with that. Very, very much. We still got a lot of matches. Looking at this card, I'm realizing just how many matches are in WrestleMania.
If this is going to be an 100-hour show, like I should pack a sleeping bag to this show.
If we were exhausted at 28, I think it was like that was nothing compared to this. And let's do it. Let's bring one of the big matches out of the way. Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker. We're talking about it right now.
Wait.
I don't know how to touch this match, man. What do you got?
I just want to watch it all burn. It's
Watch
going,
the world burn.
I think this is the year. It's I've been thinking about this a lot lately, especially after their segment on Raw this week between Roman Reigns and The Undertaker, where the last couple of Undertaker appearances, basically since WrestleMania 30, have all had diminishing returns associated with them, where every year it almost feels a little sadder each time when The Undertaker comes around. Like
the match is nothing. The match is nothing at this point.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot about a quote from an Undertaker interview. It gets circulated all the time where he talks about like, oh, when it's time for me to hang up my boots is when I'm going to be that guy. I'm paraphrasing, by the way, when I'm going to be that guy that people look at and say, oh, you should have seen him in his prime. The Undertaker said that. And it's getting to that point real fast. I would almost say we are absolutely there. It just, Undertaker is starting to look like a relic from a previous era. As awesome as he is, it's boy did it show especially on Raw this week. And this
Old Yeller, man.
This whole build has been who's the big dog of the yard. It's a passing of the torch, more so than the whole streak thing, really. And I think that torch is getting passed this year. This might not be the last Undertaker appearance, but it's going to be probably one of the last significant ones. And I do think Roman Reigns is going to beat him. It's almost it's very much like the feeling going into WrestleMania 30, at least for me, where you were asking yourself the question, like back then it felt like, oh, of course the streak is going to continue, but how are they going to make it look plausible that The Undertaker beat Brock Lesnar? It's kind of the same question here of how are they going to make it plausible that The Undertaker will beat Roman Reigns? But I think the answer is they don't. Where it's a fight, The Undertaker does his things, Roman Reigns is the guy that's on the top of his game, and he's just too much for the dead man at this point, and he wins, and it's just gonna all burn to the ground, and I can't wait. Oh, it's going to be insane. It's going to be crazy.
It's like we talked about it since the match was announced, where Roman Reigns, it's not that he has to defeat The Undertaker. He has to destroy The Undertaker. This needs to be an almost completely one-sided match.
You need to take Old Yeller behind the barn and just pull that trigger.
Like if we got the minute 23 or whatever match between Goldberg and Lesnar, we need to get a 15-minute version of that. Like a sad, pathetic match. We need to have a purposefully bad match almost, because otherwise, I don't think anybody comes out looking good. Like, we know the crowd is going to boo Reigns because it's The Undertaker and it's Roman Reigns. Like, you have the two negatives towards Reigns that don't lead into a positive. So embrace the hate, and the only way you go through that is have, like, the first 4 or 5 minutes of the match be a little bit 50-50, have The Undertaker get some of his things in, and the moment he does old school, bam, like he tries to go for the club, and he gets the first spear. And from there on, it's just sour, it's down south, and you have him lose decisively, all the way back to Triple H beating Undertaker beating Triple H. The man like had to be taken to a hospital. The storyline has always been he's barely survived a WrestleMania. That's always been the thing. How
and that
long
was
can
years
you keep doing
ago.
that? Yeah. How long can you keep doing that, dude? We love you. Retire. You have a family. Do things outside of wrestling. You've been wrestling forever. We love your career. End it. End it is what all we can say right now. Moving on. This is a match I unfortunately, this sucks in comparison to last year. Here's the Raw Women's Championship match, a Fatal 4-Way elimination match. So we have Nia Jax, Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, and the champion Bayley. I'm just going to get to two of the specific things. Nia got randomly added. Not a lot of build up to it. Sasha Banks, the thing has been that she's going to turn. She's going to turn. Everybody's saying it, and I do think it's going to happen. More so, we're going to get an elimination chamber type thing where the champion gets eliminated early, if not first. I think Bayley will get eliminated first, if not second in this match. And it's going to be by Sasha. She's not going to see it coming. and it's going to lead to a better match. And it's not going to be an obvious, oh my God, Sasha turned heel. It's just, well, it's an elimination match.
It's a title match.
Yeah, like that's what I do. So you carry this on, but you show that Sasha is willing to go the extra mile when it comes to wanting to become champion. Do you see something like that happening, and how are you feeling about it?
Absolutely. I think that's the only way they can go, and I hope that Bayley gets eliminated early and it turns into this triple threat match, and they go for a little bit. But how I feel about this match is not exactly the best story. I don't feel much for it. I'm actually kind of disappointed leading into this match. It feels like they just did a little much too soon. Like, hey, here we're making all this history, and then now it's WrestleMania time, and we're kind of pushing it to the side in wake of everything else. And I don't know. I'm not hyped for it. There's no Mojo Rawley going on for this match.
I'll never understand why they didn't do Bayley versus Charlotte here. When you listen to all the women talking, what do they say? Man, Stone Cold versus The Rock. Like, they don't talk about, remember that fatal four-way match? Because you got a triple threat match last year. You did that. And I get you want to put everybody in the WrestleMania card so they can get that WrestleMania paycheck, but give the woman that one-on-one match. You still haven't done that on the grandest stage of them all. Like, this is the ultimate thrill ride, man. And, like, if you go in a cart, you can only fit 2 people in that cart. And those 2 people should have been Charlotte, and they should have been Bayley.
Like, it's kind of crazy that you mentioned that, because both women's matches are multi-women matches, right? It doesn't show, like, they spent this whole year creating history and doing all these crazy things. When it comes down to crunch time, you're not showing the faith that you've said you had in them for so long.
So that being said, I think Charlotte, Sasha is going to be coming out the champion, if not Nia Jax, which I would feel super neutral about. But if not Sasha, it's Nia.
I think it goes Bayley eliminated first, Sasha Banks and Charlotte team up to eliminate Nia, and then Sasha ends up beating Charlotte and walking out with the title.
So, my friend, we are in agreement now. We're talking about friendships possibly ending in this one. Now we're getting to one that did end. And this is a match that I have high expectations for. U.S. Championship match. Kevin Owens battles the defending champion Chris Jericho. I think not a lot needs to be said in this. I think this match and the build-up and the story sells itself. So let's just get directly to who we think is going to be walking out the champion and why.
I think it's going to be Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens can gain a lot from this win over Chris Jericho. It's going to be storytelling 101. I don't think it's going to be an amazing match, but just a well-told story. And I can't wait for it. I'll probably be openly weeping the entire time, but
I won't be there for you.
Kevin Owens probably gets this win.
I gotta agree. Partially because Chris Jericho, we know he's going away for like a tour. I think he's traveling in May and all that. And I don't think he's going to be gone for a while. What I think will happen is that Kevin Owens has to get an almost loss. He almost loses, but then manages to get that victory. And then we have Chris Jericho come back at the next pay-per-view or like 2 pay-per-views after that. So he's not going to be absent for too long. I'm noticing that we do agree for the most part on the predictions. I do like that it's not just, well, this person's going to win. It's about how.
It's not the who, it's the why. Yep. And it's been quite different. It's interesting.
And it goes back to your point. It's about the journey. It's about the journey and the ultimate thrill ride. So Kevin Owens coming out the winner. We have 3 matches left to talk about. So we have the sanctioned match between Triple H and Seth.
This match is probably going to be the biggest journey of the entire show.
There's going to be a roller coaster theme, apparently, for the show. If it's non-sanctioned, I want them to get on that roller coaster and do something there. Come on, man. Like, consolidate your friendship. You used to be friends. I think a lot of great things is going to happen from this. I'm going to get, like, we talked about The Undertaker. Remember Triple H versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 17? 17?
Yes.
17, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm hoping we get something like that.
Oh, just where they go all over the arena and just beat the hell out of each other?
You don't have a match, have a fight.
I honestly don't know what to expect from this match because of the whole, like, we're assuming that Seth Rollins has been medically cleared, but just not in kayfabe, right? Like, he's cleared, but he's not. So it could be like an all-out match, but at the same time, because it's this non-sanctioned match, it could break down into, like, Samoa Joe interfering, maybe Finn returns, because Samoa Joe is absent from this card, so I'm assuming why is because he has a big role to play in this match. Yep. I don't know what to expect from it, and I love that. I can't wait to see this match. I'm super excited for it, and boy, have they done a great job hyping it, especially that promo on Raw. And who wins? I don't know.
That right there is the big question.
I honestly don't know. Think I'm gonna go with Triple H on this one because of the Samoa Joe factor. It just ends up being a little too much for Seth Rollins. Maybe in the Raw after WrestleMania, Finn returns and it leads to a tag match of Joe and Triple H versus Seth and Finn. That'd be pretty freaking hype. And but I don't know.
I almost was going to choose Triple H, but considering how long we've been waiting, and if you notice, we have Kevin Owens beating Chris Jericho, we have a heel outcome in the Raw Women's Championship, I think we need a feel-good moment. So what I think is going to happen is that, as you mentioned, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe are super going to get involved. That has got to happen at WrestleMania, especially
I don't know about Finn though.
Oh,
I don't feel confident about the Finn because
here it is.
But the Raw after WrestleMania happens the next night.
Dude, the thing is, people know Finn's back. He's already wrestling. There's been enough pictures. Like, if he was like absent from house shows, then fine. But they're openly tweeting, "Hey, he's fighting Triple H in house shows." So if anything, that builds up to the story where Samoa Joe comes in, Triple H is about to win because of that, then he comes in and he helps Seth Rollins win. I think we're going to get that clean babyface victory. Or not clean, but that feel good. Do they give him the
full entrance while everybody's just waiting in the ring the entire time?
Everybody's like, stop doing the Randy Orton pose, man. Rollins is getting his ass handed to him. I
still think it's the night after WrestleMania. I don't know.
I like that we finally have that different perspective on that. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. Moving on now. We have the final two matches, and don't forget, like, this is not over. There's a lot of podcast happening, and Ryan will be joining us for the second portion. We have the WWE Championship match between mentally deranged Randy Orton, and he's battling the current SmackDown champion, Bray Wyatt. So it's the Wyatt family on a pole match.
This feud is so stupid, and I love it so much. That
ending.
My God, it was so dumb. It was so dumb, but I love it so much. Somebody earned their paycheck with using After Effects on that on that video package. But it's probably Randy winning. This is another journey where I want to see how far they go with this whole, this is a new powerful Bray Wyatt, and does it translate in the ring as far as how he performs. And there's a way for Bray Wyatt to lose and look strong in that match, and that's honestly what I'm hoping for more than the actual outcome. But I do think they're going to put on a great match. They've in interviews, they've been hyping that they're going to leave it all in the ring, and I really do believe that they're going to, and Randy Orton will probably come out on top with this win.
I think that's going to be what's happening, and even though I believe that's the accurate prediction, I want to go with Bray, man. I want to go with Bray because it seems so obvious that Randy's going to win, and he probably is, but there's that part of me that will love and...
This is the obvious show, though.
I know, man, but let me dream as a fan.
Why the Miz? That's why the Miz is not going to win. The Miz is not going to win one. This is what I'm getting at here.
Have you heard of the song Dream On? Dream on, yes. Man. I'm dreaming on. And my dream is going to come true at WrestleMania. That's my promo on you, man. Just got a promo on you, Keith. You feel good?
Snap.
Yeah, it happened. So
yeah.
I think it's going to be Randy Orton, but my gut, my wrestling fan gut tells me Bray Wyatt. I want him to have the Daniel Bryan match, the John Cena match, like that elevated level match that he hasn't had for a long while, like a classic one-on-one match, and he wins. Because otherwise, where does he go? Like, his character needs to stay on top for as long as possible. Save it for the draft. Like, around draft time, do whatever, you change the roster, you start over. For the time being, I'm leaning towards Bray Wyatt, even though it's going to be Randy Orton. In this one, have you kept up with Goldberg talking about how he feels about his current run?
No, I have not.
Oh boy, so this is context for everybody. If not, check out the Edge and Christian podcast of Awesomeness, I think it's called, or something. I haven't listened to the podcast, but I read a transcript, and their first guest was Goldberg. In it, he states how miserable he's been ever since he returned to the WWE, talking about how he's getting gassed out, how his family loves it, but physically and emotionally, he is actually feeling miserable. And just kept talking about that. So
what a great
is it, man.
Hype for WrestleMania here.
The dude that destroyed Brock Lesnar on multiple occasions comes back. People are wondering, is this going to be a part-time thing? This is usually like a shoot interview type thing. These comments usually come out after the matches, not, when you're building the match up.
Hyping it while you're hyping it?
Because, I'm reading that and I'm like, dude, if you're openly talking about that in a podcast with people like Edge and Christian, it's almost justifying if the match sucks. You can just go, well, dude, I talked about it. I said, I'm miserable. So
history's going to repeat itself, isn't it?
Yeah. So almost because this is the last match, which is main eventing? Which is the last match of the show? Because based on this it could really...
I think so.
It's not Reigns and Taker? Because I'm leaning towards Reigns and Taker. Both of these matches are very similar because I think that both of those matches should be one-sided.
Now that I'm dissecting it, I don't know. Because going by my prediction, it's probably not the best ending to WrestleMania. Maybe Orton and Wyatt, because the title match is probably going to main event it. Because... yeah.
It doesn't have to, though.
I think it's going to be a massacre of The Undertaker, and ending the show on that will be bad. It'll be really bad.
And Lesnar Goldberg is better?
Probably. Not much, but probably better. So maybe Orton and Wyatt could main event the show. And, on the SmackDown side, they have been saying, this... Orton is main eventing, he has punched his ticket to the main event of WrestleMania. So they do have that verbiage there. But back to Lesnar and Goldberg, kind of feels like we're going to get WrestleMania 20 again in the way that they've been just so excited about this match, so happy.
Are we going to get Lesnar flipping people off?
I don't think we're going to get that bad. But I do think we're going to get a Lesnar win on this one, where Goldberg, the match is going to, this is the best way I can hype this match. The match is going to be whatever it is. Don't look into it too much, but there's a moment there. And I think there's credit in just sitting back and enjoying the moment, knowing that, especially from the Goldberg side of things, where there's a very, very good chance that this is the last time we will see Goldberg on this stage in a match. And I think there's merit to just soaking in that moment, just kind of getting lost, especially being in the crowd. If you're going to be there, just getting lost in the whole Goldberg and Brock Lesnar experience. I think there's enjoyment to be found there. And then just kind of separate that from the match, because the match is probably going to be dog shit.
Yeah, the best part is going to be the entrances, the chants, and the bell ringing at the beginning and the bell ringing at the end. I think that's going to be what's happened. What happens. And Goldberg has stated or hinted in his Instagram everywhere, dude, I'm done. I'm finishing after this. I don't think he maybe expected this to last as long as it did or something. I just get the feeling that he's not happy. It was just supposed to be
Survivor Series. Maybe he just made a mistake in being agreeing to this, but I think this is it for Goldberg. So enjoy it while it's here, because
he's just so sad.
You might not get it again.
Have you seen Goldberg's championship picture on WWE.com?
I have not.
I'm going to show you right now, so just look at my webcam. I'll overlay it there. Actually, you won't see it, but okay. While I talk about this, just go to the website and check out the Superstar page. And everybody, do it. The man looks depressed. And I'm not saying depressed like, ha ha ha, sad. No, like clinically depressed. He looks like he hates his life in that picture. Like, could they not take another picture of him? So I think that ultimately it's going to be Brock Lesnar destroying Goldberg, and then we're going to move on to hopefully bigger and better things.
Yeah, that's sad. I feel kind of sad for Bill there.
Like his eyes are barely open.
Like,
and
especially
he just woke up.
like I'm on the page right now. You have Bray Wyatt right beside him with a big smile, and then Goldberg just like, oh, I guess I'm champion. But man, you know, WrestleMania, we talk about those moments. Just get lost in the Goldberg experience, and whatever happens afterwards, just accept it. Move on.
Yeah, indeed, folks. And as I mentioned at the beginning, obviously Ryan's not here, but this is what all of us are going to be doing. Ryan did tell us, and the patrons as well before, that he was going to do a Facebook Live with his WrestleMania predictions. So, all of us, through Byte That Cast on Twitter, through the Ryan McNulty, which is his personal Twitter account, spam the living hell out of him. Ryan, when the hell are you doing your live predictions? Ryan, why are you not doing your predictions? Ryan, what is wrong with you? Until he eventually does it.
Even if he gives out an answer, don't stop.
Yeah,
we
stop.
give you
keep going.
We give you full permission to just be ruthless about it.
Ruthless aggression towards Ryan McNulty. Now, before we go to BT Live, as promised, because we talked about WrestleMania, but we want to know what your hype level is. And we just talked about Twitter. That is Byte That Cast. You can follow us there. We tweet during Raw, SmackDown throughout the week. We asked you, after Raw and SmackDown, did these shows do a good job at hyping you up for WrestleMania and their respective matches? For Raw, we got 44% saying 2 out of 4. It was just a meh. And then 1%, 38% said no. So the overwhelming majority for all said no. Like, this is not working.
It's hard to disagree with it. It wasn't the best show.
Yeah, I agree. But then you look at SmackDown, and 65%, the majority, the overwhelming majority, gave it 3 out of 4, saying it was yes, followed by 4 out of 4 with 23% saying definitely. So I think that WrestleMania is going to be an exceptional experience. Remember that Ryan is going to be doing the Facebook Live, that we will pressure him until he does it. And there is where we'll also be doing a lot of Facebook Lives throughout WrestleMania weekend. Some of these things will make their way onto the YouTube channel, so make sure to follow us on Facebook. Like us, facebook.com/ByteThatCast. But the journey is not over, because now, without further ado, we're going to get to talking about NXT TakeOver, WrestleMania weekend, our hype level, 13 years in the making. Ryan, Keith, and I are going to be hanging out there, meeting some members of the Byte Club. So without further ado, we proudly present Byte That Live, which happened this past Saturday over at twitch.tv/ByteThat. Folks, this is it. Byte That Live. You've requested it. Guess what? We're delivering it right now. We are live over at twitch.tv/ByteThat. But if you're listening to us on the road, you're just listening to us right now. We are going back in time, because you probably just listened to us giving our predictions for WrestleMania. Now, this is a Saturday before WrestleMania, and we're just going to talk about some of the things that we're looking forward to in WrestleMania weekend. We got a lot of questions from our Byte Club members that are listening to us live. So I have with me here Ryan, Keith. My name is Juan, for those that maybe forgot about that a little bit. So, guys, first up, we did Byte-Mania.
Yeah.
Happened this past Saturday, also known as right now.
Yes, this is the Saturday before the Saturday before WrestleMania, by the way.
Yes. Otherwise,
it's
it
like
gets
our
very confusing.
NXT TakeOver rolled into one.
So Bytemania.
Bytemania did take over.
Did it? Did it really? How did that feel? You guys didn't see any of the matches. And I know that some of the outcomes were maybe too unexpected. Can we say they were too unexpected? Is that okay?
Am I allowed to go off on you a little bit?
Go for it. Hey, I didn't play any of the matches.
We gave you one job. We gave you one job to produce quality matches, and you have John Cena beat The Undertaker by countout. Spoilers if you haven't watched Bytemania. But Jesus, one job.
Dude, they were CPU versus CPU. I just hit the play button and magic happened. And that, my friend, that was magic. You're wrong, because I'm pretty sure everybody loves it. The fact that they were unexpected, they didn't see that coming, and John Cena beat The Undertaker via countout. Spoiler.
I appreciated the train wreckiness of it all because, like one said, we didn't have any knowledge of how the matches would go down before we watched it during Bytemania. So it was truly unexpected, and I also appreciate the fact that Juan tried to play it out as fair can be, whereas we just let the simulation, let that take the wheel, and however it ends up, and that's what we get.
And I mean, there is something to say about that, where the train wreckiness is kind of on point. It's on brand for us, so it definitely was a Byte That product.
Yeah, so you could say it was a show that you expected from Byte That, you got from Byte That, so... Like,
it wasn't a good show.
I had a good time.
It wasn't a bad show. It was the
show.
And the big show.
Well done.
This ad was brought to you by the Byte That Wrestling Podcast. Okay, so in the regular edition of the podcast, we got to our predictions about what we think is going to happen with WrestleMania. But before WrestleMania is NXT TakeOver. Now, without really talking about all of the matches, because I know you guys don't necessarily keep up with NXT TakeOver, on a week-to-week basis. There's been a lot of changes. Cassius Ohno did make his return. Nakamura is going to be battling Bobby Roode. Some of the NXT stars are going to be at Access, so that's something I'm super looking forward to. Do you feel the excitement for a takeover, or are you just happy that you're going to an NXT show that we just got a ticket for because, well, it came with the package?
Honestly, and this feels so weird to say, TakeOver is the thing that I'm least excited about for WrestleMania weekend. It's like you mentioned, I don't keep up with TakeOver or NXT on a week-to-week basis, but I feel extra non-invested in NXT at this point. It just feels like there's not a lot going on with the NXT product, and I want to be more excited going into WrestleMania, but I just don't feel it this year. And I'm sure it'll be a great show because takeovers are always great. They're always worth a watch, but hype going into it is just really low.
I'm actually excited for it, and it's entirely because of the environment. I think the NXT takeovers, WrestleMania weekend, you have all of these just super hyped up wrestling fans from all around the world, and they're going to be in a more kind of intimate setting. It's still going to be a big arena, but it's going to be not as big as WrestleMania. So it's going to be like a little bit more of a kind of intimate environment that I think is going to be awesome. And it almost doesn't even matter what the matches are, because I think everyone's just going to be so hyped up for it regardless. And I think there will be plenty of good matches. So I'm looking forward to it for that. There's no particular match that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see that, but I'm expecting it to be a really, really fun show.
Yeah, same. I think I mentioned this on the previous podcast episode. I'm looking forward to not just TakeOver, but NXT as a whole, because keep in mind, they always record some NXT. Now, I'm not sure if they will be doing that.
And you'll also be dressed as AJ Lee, so you have that as well.
Extra
excited. As I mentioned, NXT taping, so that's going to be happening. Well, they usually do happen, but I know that they are taping NXT that week. So like WrestleMania weekend is Hall of Fame, TakeOver, WrestleMania, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT taping. So there's a taping. So
is that happening at Access, the NXT taking? Or
no, there was actually a conference call I listened to with Triple H where he was saying that they're going to record footage at Access because Access is going to have people from 205 Live, NXT. They actually did reveal the matches. They didn't say when, but they said, hey, if you're going there Saturday, this is some of the matches that you can expect Sunday, so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool, right? But I'm hoping they at least tape 1 or 2 matches for NXT at TakeOver, because I've always liked to see that, right? Like, hey, before the show, we get a show. But given the fact that they are going to be doing an NXT taping on that Wednesday, I'm kind of leaning more towards that we're just going to get TakeOver and maybe a couple of dark matches. I think that some people that are maybe coming up in the NXT roster are going to get some of that exposure, not necessarily for the network, but maybe like a highlight package. Hey, this is what happened during WrestleMania weekend. And is there anything that you're looking forward to the most? We are going to get Asuka versus Ember Moon, and it's undefeated versus undefeated. I think that has a lot of potential there. We are going to be getting Bobby Roode versus Nakamura. That honestly to me is okay. I'm not crazy about it. Or are you guys just then looking forward to the experience? That's what I kind of feel like I'm getting from this.
The experience is going to be something that will be out of this world. As far as being at NXT personally, I'm very excited to that. But like you mentioned, just none. I'm sure they'll be great, but none of the matches really stand out to me. Really, the exception, because it's a triple threat tag match between DIY, Arthurs of Pain, and and the
not the Arthurs. Revival.
They're the Arthurs of Pain to me, and the Revival. That match is going to probably blow the freaking roof off the place. It's going to be incredible. But beyond that, like even the match I'm most disappointed for, probably, and this is a personal completely, it's Asuka versus Ember Moon. That match does nothing for me. I would have rather have seen Asuka versus Nikki Cross, kind of, because as somebody that hasn't kept up with NXT all that much, they were building something really cool at the last takeover between Asuka and Nikki Cross, and then they just pivoted into this whole Ember Moon thing. And Ember Moon is somebody that's not really ever like, she hasn't hit with me at all, and I would have much rather seen Nikki Cross in that position over her. But it is what it is.
You have a crush on Nikki Cross. Get that out of the way, man. Come on.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with this scenario.
It has everything. No. Yeah, for me, this is kind of just like the first time I would go, since this is my first NXT show, I'm looking at it the same way as like the first time you go to a WWE show. You just kind of want to experience things. You want to see Nakamura's entrance. You want to see Bobby Roode's entrance. You just kind of want to get all those things that you would get from an NXT show. And it doesn't even have to be about what the specific card is actually going to be. I'm just looking forward to my first NXT experience.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be great seeing that audience. You're going to get a lot of This Is Wrestling chants. You're going to get a lot of You Deserve It. So more so than... A lot of Fight Forever. Yeah, Fight Forever. So unfortunately, Keith is not sitting with us because he got better seats. So we may be up in the bleachers. I'm not sure where we're going to be sitting at. But Keith, I will let you know. Or I'll make sure to tweet out a picture of Ryan's face when those chants break out. So that way...
Oh, please do.
Yeah, I feel like that's more of a public service that I need to do for everybody.
Indeed.
So, taking a bit of a break from WrestleMania weekend, we don't really get much of a chance to talk about non-Raw, non-SmackDown stuff. I know that every once in a while we watch things on the network. I don't know if you saw, and we completely overlooked this for the podcast last week. They did announce that we're going to be getting a lot more WWE 24, including one for Finn Balor, and I forget some of the other ones. I know you love that series.
Isn't there a
Keith.
Kurt Angle 24 coming up as well?
Yeah, Kurt Angle, and there's a third one. I'm sorry, I do not remember right now, but we saw footage of like Kurt Angle laying next to Shane McMahon, inside the WWE ring, just sort of laughing. I gave you the clearer picture now, so no funny stuff. Are you guys excited for that? If not, then what really piques your interest in the network now that they also have NXT from 2013, 2014?
You've been watching that, right? How is it? Because I haven't checked that out yet. How weird is it?
It's interesting. It's it it's a lot of what maybe people would complain about now, which is a lot of jobber matches. Like, hey, here's the Ascension. They're getting the push, and because there's nobody else that's established, well, they're just going to destroy somebody. Here comes Paige to destroy somebody. Here comes everybody to destroy somebody. Like, with the exception of Michael McGillicuddy versus Tyson Kidd, because that happened, and that was a really good feud, actually. 2013 is more of, hey, stay tuned. Like, remember that up-and-comer named Seth Rollins? We got a video package for that guy. I got to see Bo Dallas's in-ring debut, which was very lukewarm. Like, I think we perceive things differently for NXT than other things. I think that you go back to the Attitude Era and you can still get some of that nostalgia. I think for NXT, at least in 2013 for me, was more of, it's cool to see where this started. Like, there was still a little bit of NXT redemption. Like, one of the first shows that had main event Johnny Curtis versus Derek Bateman. And nobody talks about that. Like, nobody or barely anybody remembers that they were there for the very beginning of this NXT, because then they got the boot. Well, at least Derek Bateman did.
Crazy. I need to go check that out. It's really easy to forget NXT before like NXT became a big thing. Basically, everything before the first takeover, because when I think of like early NXT, my brain even goes to like Sami Zayn and Cesaro.
Yeah.
It's weird to think of anything before that, but it totally exists. Like, the Wyatt family were NXT tag team champions, and that's mind-blowing in a weird way, just because NXT has become this own, so different from what it was then to what it is now. But as far as what I'm watching on the network right now, it's been a lot of random pay-per-views. This kind of started with the Royal Rumble for me, where I would go back and watch old Rumbles before the event, and I've just kind of kept doing that with watching a lot of like just random pay-per-views, no rhyme or reason behind them. Right now I'm watching all of like 2003, 2004, just kind of having fun with that. And then watching the specials as they come up. Like, I think I've seen every episode of Ride Along at this point, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite shows on the network. I love Ride Along. I'm able to look past all of the whole the technical part of it that people kind of poo-poo on it, and I just love the story, having fun aspect of it.
Did you watch the Luke Gallows Carl Anderson one? I haven't seen it, but I saw the cardboard cutouts behind them.
I just saw the
I got
clip
very
of
confused.
It is a very censored version of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson having fun, but even then it's hilarious. Those guys are on a whole different level, but it is brought down by R-Truth and Goldust a little bit. No offense to those people, but just having them on the same episode as Gallows and Anderson, they couldn't hang. But it's still a great show. Ride Along is great. I want to personally see more things like Table for Three. I still enjoy that show. I was saddened when JBL basically confirmed that they canceled Legends with JBL, because Bring It to the Table I'm not a big fan of, and just a bunch of stuff like that. The thing that I want to watch more of but haven't are the collections. I've kind of fallen off on the collections, even though I love the idea, but I just like haven't taken that plunge yet. That's my network.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Ryan, you just been watching Raw and SmackDown, or is there anything?
I mean, I watch Talking Smack every week. And
that's a new show,
than that,
right?
man, although I am, like, you mentioned the 2013 NXT stuff, and I am actually interested to kind of go back and see some of that, because I came in to watching NXT right as Big E, he was still champion, and maybe a couple weeks in, he lost to Bo Dallas. So there's like, that was like early NXT, but not early NXT.
Man,
so.
sorry to diverge a little bit here, but if you think about early NXT, just think of that as a sentence. Bo Dallas beat the undefeated Big E Langston for the NXT championship.
Yeah. And I mean, Bo Dallas, like, man, he had an amazing title run in NXT. So there is part of me that misses that really just under the radar, just little show that NXT was, where jobber matches were fine. Your expectations were just, hey, I kind of want to see who the future of WWE is. And it was cool to see how experimental they were and things like that. So it'd be really cool to see the very beginning of it all. And
you can on the WWE Network.
For how much?
How much, Ryan?
$9.99, Michael.
Not a bad price, not a bad price. So before we get to a lot of the questions that we have from you guys, I actually want to take a slight bit of a break from wrestling because, as I mentioned, we're broadcasting live on Twitch. This is the first live podcast we have ever done. We've done plenty of live events. We did the 12-hour marathon in celebration of our Patron goal and all that. And let's just talk about like what's happening with all of us outside of wrestling. The reason that I also bring this up is that when talking about WrestleMania weekend, which we're also going to be getting to, a lot of people are just saying, hey, why don't you guys just vlog about it? Like the experience. Like don't sit down and do a podcast. Don't sit down and do an SRT or play that. Just give us that experience of the three of you, enjoying WrestleMania weekend. So part of that, like part of us hanging out, like as friends, like, yeah, we started, with wrestling, but really video games is that cement. Like that is the glue, right? That really put us together to make sure that we just hang out. We just have a good time. Not cementing, just the cement for all of that.
And nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. But go ahead.
I'm just bringing up triggers that trigger Ryan, so everybody knows exactly what he hates. So if you ever meet Ryan in person, you just unleash all of that, and then he's going to be very happy about it.
Just yell the word "cement" to him, and then hope to God a police officer doesn't hear you.
So what you guys doing lately? Like aside of wrestling, what's taking over your lives?
Well, I've been playing some Breath of the Wild. I know we did our little video on that, and just working, man, getting ready for WrestleMania weekend. That's been my target, and I've just been focusing on getting to that point.
Yeah, that's it's kind of the boring answer, but that's where I'm at as well. Been hunkering down, saving my monies for WrestleMania weekend so I can go out. I've been in a less like bummer note, I've been like training my liver a little bit for WrestleMania weekend, making sure I get that in, and just like, I'm outside of wrestling and video games and stuff, I'm on a big fitness kick, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. Getting my gains on and all that.
How will WrestleMania affect your gains, Keith?
It's going to destroy my gains.
Keith and I have been on a similar thing because, I've tweeted about MuscleMania in my personal Twitter account. Keith will get one, in the next 30 years or so. But I had originally, I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast. Getting a what?
Nothing. Move on.
Okay. Anyway, I never really talked about this, but I used to be very obese. I used to weigh 275 pounds, so I lost around 120 pounds. The lowest I ever got to. I'm very short, by the way. Keith and I are pretty much the same height at 5'6.5", stretching it. Ryan's 7 feet tall. You can't teach that.
And he's 5'6", and you can't teach that.
Yeah, so that is a real thing. So
good job just rolling over that.
I gained a couple pounds in the last year and a half, and I bought some weights. And Keith has actually given me a lot of his routines. I've been doing a lot of that, and it's worked. The shirt that I'm wearing right now, I had not been able to wear for a year or 2 years ago. Is when I last was able to wear this. And it's nice, right? When you don't have to buy clothes, you're just able to fit to your old ones. You've always been pretty skinny, right, Ryan? Or has there been a dark path for you?
Fluctuate around the same thing. But yeah, I have had shorts that didn't fit and then lost some weight and I could fit in them again. So that was kind of nice. I can't say I've been too healthy recently. I've been not on the best diet, but I'm not the fitness guy. You guys are the fitness people, so
you're on the seafood diet. You seafood and you eat it.
It's bad, dude. Don't go shopping hungry. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah, that's bad. That's bad.
Because you're just oh, that looks good. I'm getting that.
Everything looks good. Like starve your don't starve yourself. The opposite. Like gorge yourself with food. Like the day you go grocery shopping, eat so much food that whatever you see, you'll just want to puke.
Yeah, see, the problem, I gotta work that out because when I go grocery shopping, it's because I'm out of food. So maybe I need to go a little bit earlier before
Plan
I
ahead.
That sounds like not a bad idea. You should probably do something like that. So without further ado, actually got a lot of questions that we got from the Byte Club Live that I'm going to do the promo just in case because, yeah, this episode is non-traditional, but remember you can traditionally send your questions to bytethatcast@gmail.com. Also on Twitter, bytethatcast, you can use the hashtag AskBT. Keep in mind that when you're listening to this, all your questions will be answered after WrestleMania weekend. So make sure that it's maybe about the experience, about what we thought about the show. We are going to try and do a live review or something there. Keep in mind that's like over 80,000 people at WrestleMania. Sometimes the internet is not that great. So hopefully if Ryan's phone survives, it'll be something we do. So what do we got, Keith?
If you want us to do a WWE ride along, the closest thing will probably be us reviewing WrestleMania on the car ride home. But on to the questions. The first question comes from Dillith M, who asks, if you three were in a triple threat match at WrestleMania, name one spot you would be willing to do that would get a big reaction from the crowd. Thanks, and keep up the great work.
See, this is tricky for Ryan because what kind of reaction? This is awesome. This is wrestling chant?
No, I can get a holy shh chant, just like the video game style where it goes shh. All right, so the spot I would do, right? Set up a table.
What?
Beat the crap out of both of you guys. You guys are both stacked on the table. And I do a Phoenix Splash. No, I'll do a Frog Splash because I won't be able to do... I don't do flippy stuff.
So we're not going with realistic then?
No, I can do a splash, okay?
Through a table?
Yeah.
You think you can get that height?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's tall enough to where he can probably do it without much effort.
Off the top
let's be
rope?
real.
Uh-huh.
Okay, for me, it would be a pretty real spot. I would have Ryan laying on a table, so it would involve the table. Keith and I will be up on the ladder. For context, the table will be outside of the ring. Keith and I...
This is like a video game setup.
Yeah, this is crazy setup. And I would do the rolling power bomb to Keith through Ryan on the table. Just
He's
think
like,
about that.
Juan could do that. That's realistic.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that totally makes sense.
That just requires a leapfrog over Keith on a ladder. He'll grab you without dying.
Right?
And dive off
Real
the
simple.
ring.
You make it sound like, no problem. Good luck to you.
Easily. Okay, then what do you have?
What do I have? I'm just going to bring out like a Barbie. Not like the Ken doll kind, but the Mick Foley kind.
He's hardcore.
Oh my God, he's got Barbie's Playhouse. What's the crowd gonna do? But no, why do all the flippy shit when you can just have a barbed wire around like a 2x4?
I'd rather take the table bump than get hit with barbed wire, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I ain't gonna be the one taking that bump. That'll be you. That'll be you, my friend. So that will get the crowd going.
Well, I just read something in the chat that gave me an idea for a sixth spot that I don't think will ever happen. The Three Amigos. I'm crediting Justin Bowen. And imagine 3 tables, like in the ring, triangle-like. And then you give each suplex through one of the tables. That would be pretty crazy. Yeah,
but then you're kind of like diminishing the table spots.
I feel like Kevin Owens has done that in his life at some point. I need to figure out if that is a real thing. But thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Horcrux Hunter 394.
I hope you find them all, man. That Voldemort's an evil guy.
Indeed. And I don't trust anybody who doesn't have a nose. But Horcrux Hunter asks, hey guys, which one of you are more likely to turn heel and betray the other two? And what would that person do?
And why is it Keith?
Exactly.
That's the
What
logical
situation
thing.
is it not me?
Okay, let's actually, based on the previous question, we had a kick-ass match. I think it kind of goes well with this one. And hypothetically, I probably won. I probably got the 3 count.
Right.
Okay.
After your 3 amigos, you definitely won that match.
Okay, then let's say, for the sake of the question, Ryan won. And it is the Raw after WrestleMania. Like, it was just a showcase thing. We had a great time. And obviously, the Raw after Mania, somebody's going to turn on somebody.
Yeah.
Realistically, it will probably be Ryan because everybody expects it to be Keith. If you turn heel, then Keith is Roman Reigns. You are Roman Reigns, Keith, because everybody's expecting you to turn. Notice how when this question came up, most of the people on Twitter have the Blame Keith movement. It is so easy to pick Keith. So I think it would be where I'm looking at you, the way Rollins, the way Ambrose and Reigns were looking at the Authority, and then bam, chair shots to the head from Ryan, busts
To the
this
head.
open.
Wow.
To the head, through a table. Like, we just fall out of the ring through that table. Ryan, you evil bastard.
Yeah, I could get behind that. It's that you make a very good point about I'm probably the expected one. So
you're the
it's,
Dean Ambrose of the group.
Yeah. I'm both the Dean Ambrose and the Roman Reigns in this case, apparently. I'm basically the Shield. But yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with Ryan just because it makes myself look good as well.
I mean, even I would be surprised that I'd be turning heel. I'm like, how did this happen? How did I get here?
You get the phone call. Ryan, you got to do it. We're turning you heel, kid.
I guess
Wow.
either me or
Probably.
Juan would be the more shocking one, I suppose. And you got to go for the shock factor because
Which one
we're
would be
going to
more
shock
shocking,
the
though?
world.
Who would be more shocking, though? Like, for people live, for people listening?
It would probably be you.
I think
If
Juan would
the
be
most shocking
shocking.
heel turn would be you, Juan.
Interesting. Who would I hit first is the real thing. Like, who would I hit first so then the other guy gives the Dean Ambrose, oh, no, you didn't look.
I think it would be me.
Huh.
Because it's more... Like,
Juan
it's
would
almost
hit
like a
Keith
reverse
because I
of
think
what we would
he
think.
has been wanting to do that for a very long time.
So would that lessen the impact then?
No. Here's what I would do. If I were to turn heel, apparently I've thought about this. I would hit Ryan first because then the people will be going, oh boy, Juan and Keith turned heel on Ryan. It happened. It was bound to happen. And then Keith, you give me that smile. You know which smile I'm talking about. And then kick to the dick.
Oh, Undertaker style. By the way, TMK Tanner said Ryan turned heel after his Rumble review, so he makes a good point. I might have already turned heel.
That's a very good
It's
point.
already happened.
Ryan, I stand by you with that Rumble review. I just want you to know that. Thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from TMK Tanner.
Hey, what do you know?
There we
He's
go.
popping up again.
And they ask, you can see one match where a wrestler fights a clone of themselves. Which wrestler do you pick?
Holy crap.
I mean...
Part of me wants to pick
Sean-
Jack Evans as just the most flippiness of flippiness.
What?
I just think that would be hilarious.
They just they flip on each other to a point where they perpetually go to the moon. It just doesn't stop.
They both do these crazy flips at each other, and they're in this weird space where they're stuck and they can't stop flipping.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was gonna say somebody that would have an amazing match, like a technical masterpiece, like an Eddie Guerrero or a Shawn Michaels and stuff. I'd honestly, if I were to have a clone match, I think I'd want to see Goldberg versus Goldberg just to see how that plays out.
Aren't we already getting that at WrestleMania?
But I mean, there's room for. If Goldberg versus Goldberg happens, that means Goldberg has to lose that match one way or the other.
Actually,
How
it's
does
double.
that
It's
happen?
double. It gets canceled out. Match starts. Spear. They can cuss each other. It's done. It's over.
like they both try to spear each other at the same time. The impact creates a black hole, and
Yeah.
we all
They
get
disappear.
consumed by it.
See, this is my thought exactly. True Prince wrote, I never thought Ryan would be the one to bring up Jack Evans on the podcast. So surprised about that. My actual answer would be Chris Jericho. I think Chris Jericho has had enough or a different enough characters to where you could have, hey, let's do like WCW up-and-comer Chris Jericho versus 2008 Chris Jericho, like serious Jericho, limiting his own moveset. You could even do 2008 Chris Jericho versus 2016, 2017 Chris Jericho, and I think that you wouldn't have the same match because you don't see the same performance. Like you see some similarities, of course, but even the promos themselves, like I think it's not just the match, but what does the build-up for that look like? Or like a Hollywood Rock versus like an Attitude Era Rock. Whoa, that would be something good.
The promos. Oh, the promos. That'd be so good. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from CoolX 2015, who asks, did you guys hear what Shawn Michaels said in a recent interview about how the WWE contacted him to fight AJ Styles at WrestleMania 23, but he turned it down? Imagine we got that match instead of Shane McMahon versus AJ Styles. How do you think it would have went, and would you have rather have seen that match?
So obviously, I think everyone would rather be seeing HBK versus AJ Styles. Unfortunately, and also respectfully, like, Shawn Michaels is staying retired. You know, I think he wants to. If he answers one match, then he's going to get calls of a million more, and I don't think he wants to set that like precedent. And I also think he respects a retirement match. He doesn't want to be the guy who just keeps coming back, and you never know when he's actually legitimately retired. And even if that means missing out on, he's leaving a lot of money on the table, but I think he is just very happy with how his career ended. He thinks it kind of bookended perfectly, and he doesn't want to mess with that. And it sucks that we can't get this match, but I also have to respect Shawn Michaels.
First of all, this is huge. I listened to the podcast interview with Sam Roberts after this had come out, so I was expecting that. But you can even tell he didn't want to say that, but he needed to say it to justify an answer. And his answer was fascinating, right? Like he loves the art he developed. Like he closed a chapter, and that's exactly what he wanted to see happen. And like, I respect the hell out of him for saying that, because I think that this is a great dream match. The problem is that as wrestling fans, this is totally what would happen. We would get that match, and then we would get the itch. Shawn Michaels, you still wrestle pretty good, man. I don't think it should be a one-shot deal. You got to come back. Because, hell, that is actually what happened when he did come back in 2002.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah. I listened to the interview, too. I didn't realize when he came back, you know, for his second run, that was only supposed to be like a couple matches, and it turned into like a good portion of his career.
That was probably his best run.
Great still. Yeah, that was probably his favorite run. And can you imagine how many people would never know even who Shawn Michaels is if it wasn't for that run? Because he wasn't like one of the big focal points for the Attitude Era. Like he was there for a part of it, but when you look at the tail end, you know, he was gone. It was all about Stone Cold, The Rock, and all that. So it's fascinating. One of the greatest performers of all time. If he didn't come back for that one match that led to a 10-plus year extension of his career, we would have just had like that teardrop suplex Sweet Chin Music Shawn Michaels. Like,
honestly, Shawn Michaels probably would have been known as one of the best wrestlers from the worst era of WWE, because that was... When you think old Shawn Michaels, like he got out at the beginning of the Attitude Era, you think of like that Diesel, Psycho Sid, Vader, Bret the Hitman Hart era. It would have been the top of the worst, but you kind of, they rewrote that story with Shawn Michaels coming back and just having that incredible run of great matches. And it was great. It was great, but I don't know if like I would like to see AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels, but I think that belongs in the dream match category that we never get, in a way that maybe Shawn, like the old Shawn, it's been years since Shawn Michaels has wrestled. Are we going to get that Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels caliber match all these years later?
Oh, yeah.
Probably,
yeah.
But maybe not. And there's always that worry about it that I'm not sure. And I always think I would like to see it in the dream match category for that. Because what if it comes back and it's disappointing? Are you ready to feel that hurt? Are you ready to?
I hurt myself today
To see if I still feel
Sweet chin music. No? All
right. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes from Broken Max 4493, who asks, "Hey guys, which WrestleMania match are you least excited about?" For them, it's the Raw Tag Team Championship match.
For me, I would have to say the André the Giant Battle Royal seems just kind of like it's barely gotten any attention at all. And it just seems like it's Strowman's to lose anyway. So there just isn't really like, oh, who's going to win it? And I don't know. It just feels like it's really kind of glossed over this year. So that's why I'm the least excited about that.
I'd actually have to piggyback on that. Not even for the match itself, but matches that have a lot of people aren't good live. And we talked about that when we had the Teddy Long versus Johnny Ace match at WrestleMania, where I couldn't even see what was happening. So I can't even imagine what a battle royal is like. Because on TV, you get the camera angles when somebody's about to be eliminated. But unless you're ringside, it's so easy to miss something between the crowd, between everything that's happening. So I think that is something that I'm not looking forward to. And sort of lumping up, because we did talk about NXT, I think, and let me know what you guys think, that the triple threat tag match is going to be a great match, but it's going to be much better on TV because of that exact same thing. I know they're going to have some downtime, but I don't think we'll enjoy it as much as we would on TV.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's especially with multi-man matches, it can be hard to keep up with everything. And with tag matches, like with battle royals, it's not really the same as like a tag match or a triple threat match, where usually the big thing that happens is the only thing going on in the ring. But there is times where it can be hard to follow because multiple things are happening. Like there's a lot of moving parts to a tag match, and with all of those people in the ring, there might be something happening on the outside that you're drawn to as a crowd member that might not actually be the focal point of the match. Because one of the nice things with the camera is the focal point is exactly what they're showing you. So it can be hard to follow with that. But the match I'm least excited about, honestly, probably the Raw Women's Championship match. I'm not feeling too much about. It's a fatal 4-way now, right? That's confirmed.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Nia Jax has been added.
Woo! I don't know. It's there's nothing too exciting about it in my eyes. It'd probably just be. It almost feels like a rehash of last year plus Nia Jax. Why are we laughing?
While you were talking on Twitch, I kept cutting to Ryan doing a lot of nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized what Juan was doing and started laughing.
I love you.
All right.
Well, thanks for really just shitting all over my answer there. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes from Dat Boy Will.
Dat Boy!
Yo!
Oh, what up? And they ask, when will there be another Debate That?
So Debate That, that's been our kind of format where, I'm cutting you off, Juan. So it's been a cool format where we bring a topic up, and whether either side agrees with it, they are forced to come up with an argument for one side or the other. And we've had a lot of fun with it so far. Keith and I have debated over 2 topics. You can see them right now on the YouTube channel.
Masterfully.
And basically, if you want to see more Debate That's, definitely make sure to send us an email, send us a tweet about a topic, one that you feel like there is two sides to the argument, because if it's a little too obvious about one side, it doesn't really make for a good debate. So if there's anything that really does feel like there's two like valid sides to an argument in professional wrestling, let us know, because we're definitely open to doing more.
Yeah, debate that was something that we weren't sure, what the feedback was going to be. And, obviously up to this point, people that only listen to us through iTunes have never heard of Debate That. So thanks for that context, actually. And the benefit of Debate That is that I think it can reach a bigger audience. Like, I think it's something that a lot of people would like to interact with, right? Like, regardless of would you agree with or not. Like, say, why is the color red the best? I think it's nice to challenge somebody to say, hey, you think it's a bad color? No. Like, tell me why you think it's good. Like, to find the other side of that person's perspective. Like, to be objective, to be able to not just say, hey, something sucks. Why does something suck? Like, is there something good about it? Then talk about that and see if you're even able to convince yourself for, hey, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. And one of the good things is that once we do reach our next Patreon goal, we'll actually be launching a secondary podcast feed. And the good thing about that is that because Debate That is so accessible as an audio-only show as well, it's something we could certainly go into on a more consistent basis. Because I know, Keith, you liked it a lot, right?
Oh, I love the Debate That. I think we found a great video with this. And there's just so many different things that we can explore with it. And I really like this. No offense against you, Ryan, but I really like the setup of debating with you and arguing with you. I find it to be quite fun, and I've really enjoyed the ones that we have done so far. I think it's a nice like challenge to be able to take the side of an argument, and even if you personally agree or disagree with it, just discuss it and really like hit all the different points that argument presents. I think
you have to be kind of lawyer-esque, where regardless of how you feel personally, you got to find an angle to try and win your debate.
Exactly. You might be representing a serial killer, but you still got to see if they can go free. Or something like that. I don't know how defense lawyers work. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Cody C., who asks, let me try that again. What do you think is your favorite Chris Jericho match, and why?
So I'm kind of going to have to go to WrestleMania 19 between Chris Jericho and Shawn Michaels. I know it's a pretty easy answer because a lot of people have that match in high regard. Funnily enough, I wasn't a huge fan when I first saw that match. Like, I enjoyed the match. I thought that match had a weird finish, kind of like Byte. You didn't expect that finish, right? You didn't expect the roll-up victory the way it happened. And the reason for that was that, as I've said so many times, I grew up watching WCW. So my real only exposure to Shawn Michaels were WWF video packages and his current run. So I didn't know anything about like Psycho Sid Shawn Michaels or Kevin Nash and the Click Shawn Michaels. Like, this was it. So going back to it, I really appreciated that match, especially considering Shawn Michaels didn't even know, right? Like, a year before, he was going to have a one-match thing, which we just talked about. But here we go, having one of Chris Jericho's greatest matches after seemingly he was only going to have that one more.
Yeah, definitely a fan of Jericho versus Michaels at WrestleMania 19. I know he had a great ladder match with He Who Must Not Be Named. And that was like, Royal Rumble 2001?
Yes.
So those are definitely up there. And then he was in a TLC match, I think. He was in one of the TLC matches that I thought was pretty good.
TLC 3 on SmackDown, where his tag partner was Voldemort.
Yes. Yeah, so, I mean, I just remember that being an awesome thing, because as someone who didn't get to watch a lot of pay-per-views, seeing a TLC on free TV was awesome. I'm trying to think of, like, more recent singles matches, and, like, I know he's had a lot of great matches, but, obviously the Michaels matches really, really stick out.
Somebody help me out with this, and this is an actual answer that you could lump up. The ladder match with Chris Benoit, that happened at which pay-per-view? Because that was a
Royal Rumble
2001.
2001. That's what we were just saying.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about wasn't there another one? Wasn't there another one like on a Raw? Like, am I getting something mixed up?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
If it was nowhere near as notable as their Royal Rumble match, because that is one of the best matches of all time. They killed it in that match, and that's probably my answer for Chris Jericho's best match. Another one that popped up was I think it was at Unforgiven. Chris Jericho had a ladder match with Shawn Michaels, the one that kind of ended their feud. It's the one that Jericho chipped his tooth on. And I remember that being an incredible match. That's up there. Really, almost any of the matches with Shawn Michaels you can pick out, especially from their feud in like 2000. Was it 2008? 2006?
Yeah,
2008.
See,
that whole feud was great.
One of those
The match was with Christian. The match was Christian on Raw because it was going to kill me.
I was going to say, I really need to go back and watch the Michaels Jericho stuff of like their 2008 feud, because that was during a time, 2008, 2009, when I wasn't really watching as much. So I remember that feud beginning, and then I kind of tuned out shortly before it like really picked up after that. So I got to go back and watch a lot of that.
Indeed. That's one of the best feuds of all time in my mind. God,
Keith,
they were on fleek. Yes.
I actually have almost a follow-up question based on this, and you said that you used to watch the WWE collections but stopped. Would it help? Because like I think that you and I sort of have the same thing where I love the idea of watching the collections, but when you actually sit down, I think I just prefer a more presentable thing. Like, give me the things leading up to it. I think collections sometimes, like the way they work, the downtime in between is not as good as WWE Rivals. Like, something I love about Rivals was that it was a series that is on the network, and they abandoned it for whatever reason, where they would give you the main promos, like even backstage interviews, and it concluded with the main match, like the real big match from that rivalry. And I love that, and I never understood why they stopped doing that.
That would actually help the collections a lot if they just had a little like a little video thing in between, like this is what happened in between these next two segments that we're showing you, like, well, it was SummerSlam 2000 and whatever, and Chris Jericho punched Shawn Michaels' wife in the face, and this led to that feud, or the just something like that. I think would actually add a lot to the collections. Now that you've mentioned it, so they should do that.
Yes.
And thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Nicobe1324, and they ask, if there was a chant that you could invent, what would it be and why? Now, I'm going to take the lead on this one and use it as a chance to promote myself and bring up how I am one roughly 20,000th responsible for Fandangoing. And that is why I am a Slammy Award winning crowd member, because of that moment where it was that beautiful, beautiful night with the Raw after WrestleMania. We made Fandangoing a thing, me and 20,000 other people. So that's my answer, because I am responsible for it. I am a Slammy Award winner because of Fandangoing. And I am proud of that. That's all I got.
So what I want for a chant, I don't know what it is yet, except that I want it to be a counter chant to what chants. So if you guys can help me out here, what would be the best? Well, we already have who.
Why?
What if they did like say what? Like, what about like chicken butt? Where they're like, what? Chicken butt. What?
And then it's
chicken
just
butt.
this endless loop that goes on for eternity. Yeah, I dislike what chants, and I dislike you deserve it chants. If there was some sort of counter to those chants that other members of the audience could respond to try and stifle them, that's what I would want. We need counter chants. We need a new meta in wrestling chants.
My answer is pretty similar, where I hate the "you effed up" chants, because come on, man. Like, first of all, I can't even imagine the stress that actually puts the wrestler through.
So you could do like, good job. Good job.
You tried.
Yeah, like even 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. Anything is honestly better.
Well, I mean, that's a little too much positive reinforcement for messing up, you know?
1 thumb down.
Yeah.
1 thumb
E for
down.
effort. E for effort.
Yeah, I like that one.
Done.
I like that
Done.
one.
Because, come on. Can you imagine you are doing any job? Like, remove yourself from wrestling. Say Keith is a janitor. And he is wiping the floor, and all of a sudden his mop breaks, and they just start, you effed up, you effed up, you effed up. Come on,
Do you remember when we were at WrestleMania 28, and I believe it was, I don't remember what night it was, but the fire alarm went off in our hotel in the middle of the night. And then the fire department got called. They found out that somebody tried cooking something, probably a bag of popcorn, in a microwave, and they forgot about it, and it set a bunch of smoke into the hallway, and the fire alarm went off. And then all of a sudden, when they figured out who was in the room and who caused the fire. And the hotel was filled with wrestling fans being at WrestleMania, and all of a sudden, a "you effed up" chant started in this parking lot at these poor people. There was at least like 15, 20 people chanting "you effed up" to these poor people that put their popcorn in a little.
That's kind of amazing, though. So
you can't help but feel bad for those poor people.
Well, technically, the first part of that was when the fire truck arrived, there was a yes chant with the hand sign. So can you imagine, like, if they don't know what this is, they got to be
just a bunch of crazies.
Really happy, man. They are really happy we're putting that fire out. Overwhelmingly.
Probably the best day in those firemen's lives. So thank you for the question. Our final question of this super special question segment comes from the Cynical Cypher, who asks, as the final days to WrestleMania are coming to a close, what's going through your heads, and what are you all anticipating the most about WrestleMania weekend? Aside from all that, I hope you all enjoy yourselves, since it'll be the first time you are all meeting each other together. Well, thank you, Cynical Cypher. It's very
thanks,
kind
man.
of you.
Yeah,
Really appreciate it.
I'm looking forward to most that the 3 of us get to hang out in real life for the first time ever. And that's going to be awesome. And just the 3 of us getting to just experience wrestling. Like, I've never gone to a wrestling show with either of you guys. So that's going to be awesome. And this, like, as far as like the events go, I'm really looking forward to pretty much everything. Hall of Fame, NXT, Mania, the Raw After. The Raw After Mania might be the one I'm most excited for, as well as Universal, because we got like a free pass to Universal with the travel package.
Island Adventure, baby!
Yeah, so I've never gone to Islands of Adventure at Universal, so I love roller coasters. Warm weather is a huge thing as well.
Same for me, man. I need a break from the shining star.
You need a break from warm weather? Yeah, what?
Yeah.
What?
Just a warm weather in a different place. But for me, I really do think the entire weekend is secondary to actually hanging out with you guys. And this is not like it's true. Like, I've never traveled with anybody that is as into the whole experience, right? Like the whole WrestleMania weekend, where we're all going to the same shows. Like, yeah, it sucks that Keith isn't sitting by us, but we're still all going to the shows. So it's like, I'm looking forward to the conversations in between. Like, we sit at the WrestlePro show we're going to Thursday, and we can talk about that. Then on Friday, we go to the Hall of Fame and talk about which was our favorite thing. Like, maybe whether it's Facebook Live or not. The fact that I don't have to, number one, wait for a Wednesday to talk to you guys about wrestling, and number two, you guys are freaking there to talk about it, right? Like, we can think about this. We haven't even contemplated this. The idea that we could go to a wrestling show and eat pizza afterwards. Like, that to me is mind blowing, because I've never been able to do that with anybody. Because, like, locally, I don't really have wrestling friends. I have 2 or 3, but they are very casual wrestling fans that tune in for a little while, then tune out. So to be able to do that with you two crazy guys is honestly what I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I think you said it perfectly when you said that WrestleMania weekend, like WrestleMania itself, is kind of secondary to the fact that I get to spend time with you jabronis. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most, just kind of hanging out and just having fun with the whole WrestleMania experience. It's way too long overdue. So
yes,
it's about damn time.
Yeah, man. And many times it wasn't about to happen because like we kept talking about, are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? You know, we got the WrestleMania travel packages, so those are not cheap at all. So when we kept looking at those, I remember we had a conversation. I think it was between last year's WrestleMania and SummerSlam that we were just thinking, are we going to do it? It wasn't concrete. It wasn't like confirmed, but we were talking about it. And then it was getting closer and closer to like the date where last year, you know, they set out the travel packages in 2015, I should say at that point. And then the prices came out and it was like, who puts in that credit card and then sends the money right over? That was insane.
Whew.
It
was a blow. Yeah, it was a blow to take.
And boy,
it was quite a blow.
With that Canadian dollar the way it is, it sure didn't help my case.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also about the experience. Like, how long is your trip? I forget. I think you mentioned this on the show, Keith. Like, do you know how long your trip is to Orlando and how many stops?
I think it's only 2 stops. I think I stop in Toronto and then from Toronto straight to Orlando. But I think it's like a 2.5-hour layover in Tirana. So it's a bit of a... It's going to be a long travel day. I think overall I leave at like 6:30 a.m. and get there at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's a long flight, but oh well.
Yeah.
I honestly want to get through customs. I'm so afraid. I hate going through customs. It's the worst. I've never not been stopped and put into a room whenever I get... Seriously, it happens to me every time.
It's happened to me a couple times.
Put into a room?
Yeah, like and questioned and making sure that everything's not shady. I always get pulled aside.
What do you bring with you?
It's
bad.
Odd.
It was like my previous I used to work in construction, and a lot of the time it was to make sure that I wasn't bringing anything. Like I didn't have intent of just like going to where I was going and staying there for work. Because apparently that's a real problem. So I would always get pulled aside for that. And then just a myriad of reasons I will not go into. I think myriad's the right word there. If not, oh well.
And if not, it's a hotel. So
yeah,
at least there's that. For me, I've actually been stopped a couple times. And not to imply that maybe it's because I'm Puerto Rican, but I will say most of the times I will totally assume it was because I'm Puerto Rican. And it's very unfortunate. Like, I don't know if Ryan and Keith is Canadian, so obviously in his case, like he probably has it worse than I do because like when you have like immigration to go through, I don't have to go through that at least for now. And like, have you ever been stopped or questioned or anything while traveling, Ryan? Ever?
No. And
with a name like Ryan McNulty, I don't think
keep in mind.
will.
Keep in mind,
you could be white bread and have the same effect.
Keep in mind that I do not travel very often, so my sample size is extremely small. Like I was basically in like middle school, like when like before the recent flights that I had to Florida and to Puerto Rico in the past couple of years. It had been like 8 or so years before I had flown on an airplane. So I don't fly very often at all. So like I said, I was a kid. And so really only 2 times as an adult have I flown on an airplane. And I have not had any issues.
Last time I went through New York City, I got put in that machine where they see your Jimmy Wang Yang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to do that. And then it just kind of happened.
Yeah. I'm never really concerned about that. But I will say, like, the related story is one of the times, I forget which airport I was questioned a lot by this TSA agent. And honestly, his accent was very thick. I couldn't tell you where it was from, but I didn't understand what he was saying. And like I was thinking to myself, he probably doesn't think I speak a lot of English, so I make sure I was very accentuated when I was talking. I was very open with my words. And at one point, he like started yelling at me because he was on the other side of the machine. And at one point, I just had to yell out, "I don't understand what you're saying." Of course, that went well as you think it would. But I didn't know what else to tell him because like everybody was making a scene and then everything was fine. Like I wasn't pulled over into any room or something. But for those that have never traveled, and in my case, I guess if you're a minority in some way, you have a whole different layer. Like real talk, I can give experiences when it comes to like when I've traveled with facial hair than without. Like I've done the experiments and I can see that.
So are you shaving before the trip?
I'm just making sure like I'm going to have the sideburns and then like this, but I'm going to make sure I'm as clean as possible. And dude, I've actually seen it happen. Like, you know, you're supposed to be randomly screened, but magically when I'm way cleaner looking, I'm dressed better.
You should like wear a suit or something.
Yeah, I always dress nice. Seriously.
It might legitimately help.
No, one of the times I was traveling for a conference and I basically was traveling directly to the conference. I think it was in California. And no, it was in Virginia. And I had to dress up. So I went from the airport because I had the meeting that same day in a couple hours. I didn't have a single problem. I was wearing a suit, you know, with a jacket, tie, not a single problem. Coincidence? I don't know.
Dude,
I'm
wear
not going
a
to
suit.
say it.
If you don't want any issues, you should just wear a suit again. You can use it for the Hall of Fame. Use it for the Hall of Fame too.
I just won't be like Keith and go to Walmart buying some tape, a jacket, and something else for that
black
hoodie.
hoodie.
Yeah, the black hoodie.
Oh, you mean I should take all that stuff out of my suitcase? Good to know. All right.
Yeah, I'm just worried about like the microphone and stuff and the battery packs, like them thinking it's something else or whatever. So
what's important is that you have all of that accessible. What I've always done, I've traveled with, you know, laptops, with my Vita. In this case, I'm traveling with my DS. Have it be in your backpack or something, but immediately take it out. I think that a problem is a lot of people travel and expect, hey, if I'm not stopped, I'll just leave that there. Make it as accessible as possible. I take anything that you think it could be questioned and just be open about it. Like a lot of times, like if they stop me, I'll just go, hey, don't worry, I'm in no rush. Like as long as my plane, I don't leave, as long as it doesn't hold me up and I don't leave, I don't have any problem staying by because honestly, they're just doing their job, right? And you want to make that as easy as possible. I think a lot of people like to challenge them. That is stupid because you make everybody feel uncomfortable. Don't do that.
Agreed. And that's been the Byte That Flying cast for more tips and tricks on how to get to the TSA as easy as possible. That's all I got.
I will not do what Liam wrote, which is, Juan, just go in your AJ outfit. Can you imagine I actually put on the wig and I got to take that off? Oh, my God. Whew, you will not be seeing me at WrestleMania weekend there. And then Troopers wrote, I mixed up Virginia with California. I swear I'm just geographically challenged. I have no ill intentions towards any state or country.
Indeed.
So guys, like this is actually it for all the buildup that we've done. You know, we are recording this on a Saturday. Depending, you know, you may have heard or may have not heard Ryan talk and give his predictions, or if it was written or whatever. This is the last time until we see each other that we get to comfortably just talk to each other. Unless it's in person.
Because that earlier prediction part, super uncomfortable. It was terrible.
Yeah. So, how you feeling? I mean, it's actually not to keep repeating or beating the dead horse, as some people say, but it's 13 freaking years, man. It's over a decade.
It's just not going to seem real until it actually happens. So
until you are in my arms. It's not going to be real.
Those pictures. I'm looking forward to the reactions.
I need you in my arms tonight.
I remember the first time I saw Keith in the airport.
Something you said.
We got to burst out a song. No, I won't. Yeah. But I remember when you picked me up at the airport when I went to Florida.
Yeah. I think the exact quote was, give me an effing hug when I saw you.
Yeah. But it was the whole thing of you look at somebody on a webcam for so long that when I saw you live, I'm like,
you don't look real. Keith? That's not a real man. Yeah. That's not a real human being.
And then just seeing the three of us, man, that first picture is honestly going to be powerful. And something else that we haven't talked
joke.
about.
I don't think I'm ready for how tall Ryan is.
No, man.
I'm not even like that tall.
Ryan, we are short people. You need to realize that. So for you, you're normal height. I went to Boston. I went to Massachusetts. I felt like I was 2 feet tall, man, because everybody was hovering over me. 10 years old.
2 feet tall, 2 years old, little dog. Yep.
The last thing I wanted to bring up here is a subtopic before we close off and ride off into the sunset is, we saw people like Cynical Cypher write that there is a possibility that they will be traveling to WrestleMania, which would be awesome. We have a couple of members of the Byte Club that are going to be traveling. So really, the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is just being able to meet you guys. Like, we don't have a formal event. We are going to be obviously doing Facebook Live and Twitter. So depending where we're at, we are going to focus on the three of us hanging out. Like, that's honestly with the priority, because after 13 years, we got to do that. But if we're at WrestleMania, if we're at the Hall of Fame, if we're at just WrestleCon or even down the street and you want to have some pizza with us, or you're there on the other side and you want to throw a pizza to Keith's face so we can laugh horribly at it.
I don't think he'd be laughing.
No,
and don't waste pizza. Do not waste pizza.
Yeah, number one, don't waste pizza. Number two, I highly recommend not trying that.
Damn, because I would be laughing. You probably
So we'll
somebody.
be keeping everyone on Twitter and everything posted and Facebook Live. If we're at somewhere and you're in the area, you'll know where to find us. Unless it's we're gonna have some private time too. Three of us.
Mommy and Daddy need some time alone.
Devon, get the Vaseline.
But any of the events we're at and stuff, we'll let you guys know.
I can't believe I just said that.
What's wrong with you?
What did he say? I missed that.
No, don't.
Look, we will not.
I'll have to
that.
listen back later.
But everybody, we truly hope that you were able to either meet us, or that if you're not traveling to WrestleMania, that our Facebook Live, we can't stretch that enough. Facebook.com/bythat. Stress
that enough. We're not
gonna stretch that as long as we can. Oh boy. Okay. So
right.
Facebook.com/ByteThatCast is where we'll be doing that. Hopefully a lot of that footage will end up making its way to the YouTube channel and VidMe. Something that I will be doing is that I will be taking a lot of video and photos that maybe won't make it to the live streams, but that way when we come back, we can almost do an SRT, a roundtable of the trip. So it's, sort of looking at pictures, remembering the moments, leaving the memories alone. We can cry a little bit.
It's like when your grandparents show you that slideshow of their trip, and it's really boring, except ours is going to be entertaining.
Oh boy, it's going to be incredible. Like all the pictures of Keith, all the pictures of drunk Keith that will be taken. Which will
not a lot of those probably aren't going to be good enough to, like, they're not going to be legal to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Damn. I really just got to end it with this now. I feel like somehow Keith is going to get into a fight with a random person at Mania Weekend, right?
I don't
Prince
fight.
of Pro.
Keith's a lover, not a fighter.
I'm a lover. I'm not a fighter. I will. If there's no good way to word this, I'm not gonna fight. I'm a lover.
Keith takes care of people.
Fight.
We make fun of Keith for being blame Keith, but you're a pretty awesome guy, man. So Ryan,
I do good work. Usually
we do the Byte That weekly update, but now the update is this. This podcast has been basically the update of what's going on. You can check out Bytemania somewhere across the interwebs. What do you want to talk to people about as we close off? This is your floor, man.
Yeah, well, we just want to thank everyone for listening to another edition of the Byte That podcast. And now we got WrestleMania ahead of us, so I say keep an eye on Facebook, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/ByteThatCast, and keep an eye on the YouTube channel, because we're going to just be uploading as much content as we can. During the weekend, it's going to be a little rough, so Facebook is going to be the place to be, and Twitter, to track what we're doing WrestleMania weekend. That is our content this weekend. We don't have a traditional video going up. So keep an eye on all of that. And yeah, our Twitter at ByteThatCast. So stay tuned for WrestleMania weekend. We'll try and give some content about post-WrestleMania and all that. And then we'll be back to business next week for another edition of the podcast. So thank you guys. We're super excited for WrestleMania. We hope you guys enjoy it in whatever way you're watching it as well. And we'll see you next time.